Good day, gentle viewers! In today's news, even more delays like earlier from this week, news on the Mushoku Tensei Roxy spin-off manga, some additional award wrap-ups, and another animated adaptation of something from anime voice actors. So without any further ado, I am Tristan Gallant, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Let's jam. The Mushoku Tensei manga spin-off Roxy Get Serious is coming to an end. For those of you unaware, like if you are an anime-only person, you watched Mushoku Tensei and haven't ventured into the manga world at all, back in 2017, the original author of the light novel also created a spin-off manga, which focused more specifically on the supporting character of Roxy, the young mage who teaches our main character from Mushoku Tensei, Rudeus, magic during the initial arc of that story. This spin-off manga largely covers Roxy's backstory and her history in the world of the original series, and since 2017, it itself has received 11 full volumes of manga material. And now, the 12th seems to be its last. Normally around this time, I would get really hopeful for an anime adaptation, like when a manga announces that it's ending, and considering that Roxy is one of my favorite characters from the world of Mushoku Tensei, I would be even more ecstatic if we got an adaptation of this specific spin-off. But of course, the main series comes first. The Mushoku Tensei adaptation is set to receive its second season sometime this year, and since that series has way more material to go through, the best that we could hope for is some scattered episodes throughout it to cover the content of Roxy Get Serious. So, I'm not extremely hopeful, but it would be nice if we could get such an excellent bounty. Thankfully, if this is the first you're hearing about this spin-off manga, and you, like myself, are a reader of supreme culture, and you want to follow Roxy's backstory, this manga has been translated into English by 7 Seas Entertainment and is available from them directly in a variety of places where their manga is sold. They're not sponsoring this video, as this video is not sponsored, but I just really like the manga, so you should go read it. Roxy is great. Now, last time we talked, earlier this week, I went over 3 shows from the winter season that got delays due to the thing that I can't mention on YouTube. So that was Near, Ayakeshi Triangle, and Unite Up, I think, were the 3 shows that were delayed. Well, as it turns out, we have even more. Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible is also getting delayed after the airing of its 6th episode. Now, similar to other shows that have been getting delays this season, past the airing of its 6th episode, they do plan to re-air all of the existing episodes again. However, and maybe this is where I got some translation wrong, it seems that there is not only going to be a break in the release for a couple of weeks, but then also the re-airing plans are said to happen starting in April. Now, the series began airing on January 10th, which would put the airing of episode 6 on the 14th of February. And then, if they start the re-airing in April, that'll be 7 weeks of nothing. And then, of course, if you add in the fact that they're going to be re-airing all of the episodes from 1 to 6, then we're not going to be getting episode 7 until, if my math is right, halfway through May? Which obviously and suddenly turns this winter anime into a spring anime, because the spring anime season traditionally starts just after the start of April. So this is an unfortunate development, but with any luck, that will be it for delays within this season, I hope. And time will tell how much of these sorts of issues will plague release schedules into the new spring season. We can hope that they won't. Now, before we continue briefly, I did want to give shoutouts to supporters of this channel over on our Patreon. This video, as I mentioned earlier, is not sponsored, and the more support we get over there, the less sponsors that Glass Reflection will need at any given time. So an immense thank you, especially to patrons like Omar Showman, Hector Montemayor, Wago221, Stiddy Yamako, Ryfen Bonaparte, and Ross Emerson. We can't continue this without your support, so however much you are able to help, I am eternally grateful. And I can't get through even more of this time of year, this month of January, without more awards news popping up. So here are a couple of awards-related stories. We'll get this out of the way until, more even show up. First off, the Oscars, the Academy Awards, have announced their list for the various categories that they normally offer, and surprise, no anime has made the cut this year. I say surprise with an extreme amount of sarcasm. There were 3 anime films that were eligible for the Best Animated Film category of this awards. Science Saru's Inuo, Drifting Home from Studio Colorido, and Goodbye Donglies from Madhouse. But to the surprise of no one, the Best Animation category will continue on without any anime inclusion, because, you gotta make sure that you include both Pixar and DreamWorks' latest productions. You just gotta. It's almost tradition at this point. But hey, at least Del Toro's Pinocchio is there in the list. I'm hopeful for that one. Now, as far as other anime awards go, the Crunchyroll Anime Awards ends its voting today. So this is the absolute last day to put your votes in on their awards show, and I made a whole video dedicated to that, but I have yet to speak on similar awards going on within the community, such as the one over at Anime Trending, which also ends its voting tonight. Anime Trending's awards are more unique compared to Crunchyroll's, as it does not exclude the entirety of the fall season from their voting, but for some reason, it did decide to exclude Made in Abyss from its Anime of the Year category. So I'm glad to know I'm the only one who thinks that show is worthy of such a position. But over on Reddit, the R Anime Awards have also begun their voting process, and they also don't allow me to vote for Made in Abyss as Anime of the Year. So I'm very lonely with that opinion. But hey, Reddit as well also actually includes the entirety of the fall season. So between these two, I'm very, very interested to see on what differences there are going to be with that inclusion compared to Crunchyroll's award show. It'll just be fun to watch and see what things from the fall season makes it through. And considering that I think the audience for Anime Trending and the Reddit Anime Awards are very different, it'll be interesting to see also how different those two communities are. And could it simply just be a matter that adding in the fall season means that Chainsaw Man will dominate every category that it's nominated for? Who knows? But this would be a good opportunity to find out. Both of these award shows will be presented later in the year, and when they do, we might be following up with their results for curiosity's sake, if nothing else. But with all of the usual hate on the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, just being able to see if anybody else can do a better job without falling into the same pitfalls is always an interesting thing to see. Lastly, something that is somewhat tangentially related, but it shows up on my feed and I'm interested in it, and I can sort of argue that it is anime tangential, so here we go. Do you watch Critical Role? If you do, you might be happy to hear that Critical Role's second D&D campaign, The Mighty Nine, is getting an animated adaptation. Now, like Critical Role's previous animated adaptation, The Legend of Vox Machina, this is a Western animated series, and I'm not going to sit here like some other Western anime series and defend it for the title of anime. I don't actually think it deserves it. However, Critical Role has been popularized due largely, I would say, to its cast, many of whom have been in the anime voice acting industry for a very long time. They are well known within those circles, and that is actually how I started watching Critical Role back in the day. So because of that tangential connection, I feel like it's worth bringing up. Now, from what we can tell, the adaptation of the Mighty Nine campaign is going to be done very similarly to that of the Vox Machina adaptation, which I mean has good and bad parts to it. Venturing into personal opinion territory, if you've watched The Legend of Vox Machina and you've also watched the material on which it's based out of, it cuts a lot of things out. A lot of things are truncated to fit the television format, and by television format, I just mean the 20-minute episode format. And things tend to move along at a very brisk pace, and if you happen to be familiar with the original material, it feels like you're on a rocket ship with boosters blasting the story past everything just to get to somewhere. Amazon is fronting the funding for this brand new series like they did with the second season of Vox Machina, and they did for the tail end of the first season, as largely the original season of The Legend of Vox Machina was paid for by a highly successful Kickstarter campaign, and the animation production is going to be done at the Western studio Tidmouse. And as a fan, I can only hope that the character designs and art style will be slightly different than that before to hopefully differentiate the two campaigns, but things being what they are, I'm honestly not expecting it, and I'm fully assuming that it's going to be done in a very similar style, despite the campaign's much darker tone. Details about its release are going to be forthcoming, so we will have to look forward to that in the future. And that's it for our show today as we continue into the weekend. Progress is continuing on my video for the winter season. Despite the delays that existing, I'm actually not going to bring up the various delays, and I'm going to be just flat out talking about all these shows because I've already watched the initial episodes of literally all of them. So I will be back later next week with even more headlines and news alongside, hopefully, assuming I can get the editing of it done in a timely manner, my seasonal video talking about all 30 plus new shows that have aired this past season. So subscribe if you haven't, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, watch more anime and stay frosty.